Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobbi Pominville. I'm your reporter on the arts. Today I'm interviewing one of my colleagues from the former middle school and a person I had worked with for years. And of course now, Dr. Kris Tjornehoj is the University of Wisconsin River Falls Professor of Music. She is also a conductor there, and she conducts the St. Croix Valley Symphony Orchestra. And you know what? We're going to learn about a lot of the things she does today. So I want to welcome Kris to the show.
Thank you very much, Bobbi. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
And I think this is the perfect timing because you have so much going on in your music world. But before we get to that, your job at the university is an educator with online creativity in times of COVID-19. I've never talked to anyone about that. So could you please share what that entails when you're teaching?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Bobbi, because none of us at this age, none of us were really trained, if you will, to do online teaching. But years ago, I took advantage of some training that the university offered. I even went to various seminars and at Stout, in Madison, in Minneapolis, because I thought, well, gosh, if I do this online learning thing, that's just another thing for my portfolio. And I bet things are going to go that way eventually. And I don't know if it's the best way or not, but they gave us the option to teach in the J term and the May term or summer term if we wanted to create a course. So I created 2 courses, and this is going back 8 years. 8 years ago, I created a world music class and a music appreciation class. And it was my thought that, well, if I had something else, not only does it give you knowledge in that area, but it allowed me to work with the non-music major. Because by this time, I was really only working with music majors, and nothing against them. I love them dearly. But it is really fun for me. One of my complete joys is to try to share my enthusiasm and love of music. And the more you know about any topic, the more you appreciate it and the more you enjoy it. And I can't think of anything better than enjoying music your whole life long. So I started the online for the understanding music, we call it, music appreciation, and then world music. And fascinating, just fascinating to learn all about it and to study the things online. I'll never forget the first time they said to me, well, you really shouldn't have a textbook for that. Students should just look online to read. And I said, oh, that'd be terrible. So I think of how we've evolved in our learning progress over these last 8 years in my life, 8 years online. And what's really funny is I love it. And so some teachers are bemoaning the fact, but they've been kind of forced into that situation. But for me, I felt like I was quite comfortable teaching online. So when they flipped the switch, the COVID switch, we call that on, March 13th and 14th? The COVID switch where you were allowed to go get a few books out of your office in 2 days during spring break, and then you didn't enter until August. I was not in a panic. I called friends from the New York Philharmonic, San Francisco, Minnesota Orchestra, composers in LA, and I thought, well, this will be fun. And so I closed myself up at my cabin, which has great internet, and I started doing interviews similar to what you're doing here. And I'd say on Mondays it was meet the musician, and on Wednesdays it was meet the composer. And I had a number of composers who were there's no other way to say it, movies, TVs, LA, where they already have the audio track. And so the things that we were all starting to do was click tracks, like a recording artist would do in the studio if you were playing for a movie, John Williams, or a movie, a series, mini-series. So I had so much fun jumping into this, but I was a little too fast, perhaps, for my students, because I was like, oh, we're now online, let's go. And they were like, oh. So we would play online. And so what I do now is students during this COVID time, I go face to face as much as possible. But every class that I do, I open up my computer and I Zoom just like this on a music stand. And then I do my thing. And then I ask, and how are you doing at home? Here we are face to face, because it's such a strange time. So my probably best thing is that I'm friends with lots of composers, and I'm very connected to living composers. And so then what did I do? I hired, we call them consortiums. That's what I do for my philanthropy, one of my things for my philanthropy. So I hired out music, and I had some things written for me that had 5 parts so that my orchestra could play, so that the band could play, and that you could mix parts up, and it wasn't just like violin, viola, cello, bass, trumpet, and because you don't have them all. Because the students have a choice to come to class or not right now. So I've kind of accomplished it. The other thing that I did is the Boston Brass, fantastic musicians. They, after speaking with me, they saw the crisis in all this back in March. He was one of my interviews, Jeff Connor. And he had his arranger take 5 of their pieces of music, arrange it for what we call flex ensemble. So anybody can play any of the parts. And you put small groups together, either face-to-face or online, and with these soundtracks, and you play, and it's actually very musically rewarding. So we're recording those. And so, yeah, I've actually had a ball having to be really creative online and loving it.
Well, that's just amazing, because I would have thought it would have been so difficult to get going. But I remember you were talking about this years ago. And I was kind of like, oh, why is she thinking about online? But actually, you just sailed into it, and it's so neat the way you're doing it. Now, when you were talking about the band students or the orchestra students, are you saying you're doing that online?
I'm doing both. So the way they do it right now is that the students, because of COVID and because of, if you have to quarantine 14 days, your whole semester has been just upheavaled. So with students, I have a computer on me at all times and an iPad, and I am face to face with them during rehearsals, but I'm conducting, and they've got click tracks and audio tracks. Mm-hmm. And we wear these cute little headsets that we've got. I didn't need to do it today because I have a separate microphone, but right. Like, this is me. Oh, sure. So that's what I do. And so I do it both face to face and then for the online students. And again, it's not the same, and it's not that rewarding, and not everyone embraces it, but I've always loved a challenge in my life. And I also know it's temporary. Do I get the musical feedback, vibes, joy that I do from interacting with full groups? No. But you do the best you can, and remember that psychologically you're helping people connect to each other, even if it's over the screen.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that, because I had no idea how that would work. Now, this is a little segue into this. The next thing I was going to ask you was about the popular coffee concerts. Are they still going on, and how are you doing that?
They are going on. So what I've done is, once again, give me a challenge and I'll figure out a way. So the very first coffee concert, we can put the link up, and it is a YouTube channel that we created down at the university to host these kind of events. So the very first one was Jack Swanson, if you know that name, from Stillwater, Minnesota, and his new wife, Catherine Henley, who is from the New Jersey area, New Jersey, New York. They just recently got married this summer, and Jack is doing an opera, until January in Norway. So he was in Germany, then Norway, but they were here. And so they presented the very first coffee concert. And I filmed it. This was a controversy, actually, because on our campus, everyone has to be masked all the time. and understood. And so we had our interview with our masks on, and they sang one piece, and they looked at me and they said, "Kris, we can't do this." I said, "I knew you couldn't." So, this is weird. So we did what we could in Abbott Concert Hall. And then I went over to Trinity Lutheran in Stillwater, which is just such a great place and has terrific acoustics, and they're wonderful people. As you know, Phil Cadidlo then did a lot of the sound and the recording. Mm-hmm. And it was a wonderful experience, and that is online. And even though the coffee concerts are at noon on Fridays, that's the release date, but they don't go away. So you can watch them anytime. You can watch it anytime you want, and it's a beautiful, beautiful show.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that, and I am going to go on YouTube. I'm definitely going to do that. I've got a couple other things to do on YouTube.
Well, let me tell you that it's on uwrf.edu/music, because we have our own YouTube channel.
Right.
And so it comes through there, and I can get you that to type it in.
Thank you.
I taped Ivan Konev on piano and Laura Sewell on cello. I taped and interviewed them a week ago. So that airs, I believe that airs next week on a Friday. Again, what that means is we turn it on, but you can watch it anytime. And then next week, I'm hosting Ji Young Lee from Seoul, Korea, who is a visiting professor, and she will be recording her piano. And then we will have an interview, and then that will release the 1st of December. So I'm still doing those. So putting an interview with it and trying to make it sort of personal, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, great. And that would be kind of once a month.
That's approximately what I'm
approximately,
doing.
but you can look at it at other times.
Correct.
Okay. Wow, you really helped me to understand a lot of that. Now, here's a really strange one. You told me you were doing virtual recordings, and I have no idea how you're doing that, so I want to hear about that next.
Okay, so I have a girlfriend. I was lucky enough to go to Spain for the International Year of the Woman. I believe that was 2016. And I conducted wind bands, and they had never had a female. So I went over there and I networked with different people, and one of the women who is a percussionist in one of the adult bands, and I hit it off, Natalia Montanez. And so she subsequently has gotten the first band position as a lady, and I just happened to be there when she had her debut, was it a year ago last summer, for a conference, WASB, World Association of Symphony Bands and Ensembles. So Natalia had her band coming down, and this was a big brouhaha. Well, she arranged a piece of music called We Are the World. You know it, right?
Of course I do.
Yes. And so it was the one, anyway, so she arranged it, and we decided that we would collaborate together and have both of our ensembles record these individually, once again with our headsets. I recorded myself, and then we had them put together. So I took all of my people, and we used our iPhones, and, it's real specific, wear red, put it here, record yourself, this is your track, here's your click track, and then here's me conducting. We did that and then edited it all together in something called Pro Tools, and one of those recording things. And then that is actually out and available as well on our website. So I'm happy to share that with you. Actually, I think that's on kristjornehoj.com. And so there is and we're all of us have these little boxes of who we are, who chose to volunteer. Yes. And I'm doing 2 more right this very moment. I'm doing a lullaby. I'm doing, in Canzona, 2 pieces again that were arranged, one for the Boston Brass, one for by Gregory Fritz, one of my friends. And so when he heard my plight, what do I do with all these people and try to make music? He arranged a brass quintet for my Flex ensemble. And so we're recording those, and there'll be all of our little faces edited all together. And then we're also doing 5 holiday tunes of their choice. So I'm taking my student conductors, and then they are working with small groups of 5, because that's the safe group in our spaces at the university. And so those will also be on the virtual channel, the YouTube channel, because why not? Why not? That's
Wonderful.
how we're doing it.
Oh, you have endless ideas, and your contacts from all over the world must really help in this realm, because you can call on different people you've known or you've conducted, or you actually, I don't know, you've been all over and you've had your residencies and whatever in conducting, and it's got to help for the musicianship and everything else.
I hope so. It's really fun. It's my honor.
I think it will. You know, I kind of know what you're saying now, because I just had to record something for the festival chorus for the FIP Center. And it's going to be on the website in December, and it's called I'll Be Home for Christmas. I'm sorry. And it's the first time I've ever had an experience like that, where I'm singing alone, but of course I can hear the accompaniment. But then it'll all be put together. So I'm kind of understanding some of what you're saying. So
Well,
thank you. Thank you so much.
If you haven't seen Eric Whitaker did that massive one.
Yes.
He had people from around the world come together.
Yes.
And that's another positive. So people have, the musicians and the music has continued no matter what. You can't stop our craziness.
That's so good. I'm so glad to hear that. First one I ever saw was the Luther Choir.
Yes.
Oh, Lord God. And it just blew me away. I can't remember how many thousands of people were singing, but it was just amazing from all different years and so on. So anyway, that is the way of the future, I guess. And looks like we're going to be in it for a while. So now, oh boy, one of my favorite subjects. You have the most outstanding holiday extravaganzas. I want to know what's going on this year and who will be involved and where it will be. And tell me all about your plans for the holidays.
Well, of course, it's all adjusted to be COVID respectful and people safe and friendly. And yet I am still attempting to do this. And it will be Sunday, December 13th at 4:00 p.m. This particular extravaganza will be at Shepherd of the Valley in Afton, Minnesota, just over the Hudson Bridge and on the left. And it will include a professional brass quintet. It will include professional violinist. Actually, Allison Ostrander is the concertmaster of the Minnesota Opera. It will involve Jen Burley-Bentz, who was a singer on Broadway in Mamma Mia and is the proprietor and co-owner of Brickhouse Music in River Falls. It will involve myself playing quite a bit of piano. And there's a number of other people that are in the region, one on flute, one on harp, and then I'm going to play a little bit of saxophone. So we're limiting the air passage. The instruments will be covered. As you know, we're supposed to respect all the research. And so we're trying to be 100% respectful of people, place, and thing. And therefore, placement, in fact, this week they said, could you just put on the floor where everybody's going to be, because we have to be sure it's safe and we're going to measure in between. I said, absolutely, that's what we've been doing, and we will do that. And so people will have to get a reservation. It's still free because I live only on donations. And so it's still free to the public, but you'll have to make a reservation on the sov.church website. And then what happens when you do that and you put your information in, it also serves as a tracking mechanism in case there is any problems or any outbreaks, or if there's a cancellation or something happens. And so it will be live streamed, it will be stored on their website, and then also it will be live for, well, we're saying up to 200 people, but we're not really sure. We got to see how the guidelines are, and there are additional areas within this church, so we may separate people out if we need smaller numbers. But the idea is we're going to have a holiday concert.
Thank you for so much for that. I think I got to participate in one last year with the Sacred Ensemble
You did.
at Shepherd.
Yes.
But of course, we didn't have to be spaced, did we? Or was that a year ago?
Well, it was actually a year ago, and what happens is we're not using many singers because of that particular thing. So typically we have quite an array of choir and soloists, and it's quite an extravaganza, full orchestra, but obviously all that is limited with respect to the pandemic.
Right. So can your choir be involved then, the one you've been directing at Shepherd?
Yeah, I did figure out, Bobbi, I think I'm on year 35. I'm going to try to confirm that.
I know it's over 30. I saw that somewhere.
I think it's 35 years. I'm not totally sure. I'm going to do some research because I think it is. But anyway, so I've been doing that, and no, that group cannot get together. What I do think we're doing is choosing a holiday piece. I have it right over here, actually. It's a John Rutter piece. Christmas Lullaby, speaking of it, and I'm encouraging the singers to each do exactly what you did for the Phipps Festival Chorus, where they see me conduct, they hear the piano track, and then they can record their voice, put it together, and if that all works out beautifully, you'll see that on a screen. And so no, the choir has not met. We Zoomed for through June. And now I Zoom once a month with them and connect with people. But no, it doesn't look like we can use our voices. And isn't that just so sad?
It is, but it is one of the areas that is very detrimental to spreading the virus. So yeah, here last December, I sang in 4 concerts. Now I'm not singing in any. And it's kind of a downer. I mean, I know people are getting a little depressed about our music.
Absolutely. It lifts you up. In fact, I did have a church meeting. I am consulting with Shepherd of the Valley now that I'm not leading the choir. So I'm now on worship and music and doing some things there. And they came to me and said, we need a hymn sing. I said, well, you can't really sing. And they said, well, we need something. So we have just solidified a celebration of hymns.
Oh, good.
Which will be on Thursday, December 3rd at, I believe it's going to be 6 p.m. They haven't publicized that. That should be on the sov.church website as well. And I'm putting together a guest soloist, 2 of them, and one from the choir, one guest that I won't give you the name yet because I don't have a contract yet, and a group of 5 professional brass players once again. And I will be doing, basically, I want to call it a hymn sing. And yes, the audience with their masks on can come ahead and sing with us, but it will be led from the front. And that too will be one of those things where you can get a reservation and come, no cost. And it will be live streamed and it will be archived as a service.
Oh. So neat. Now, are you divulging how you're choosing your hymns?
That's funny.
Do you have like your favorite hymns, or sort of? It doesn't have to be just that time of the year, does it?
It's funny that you say that because I did, in respect, call my church choir or accompanist and said, I know that you won't be participating, but you may share with me your 5 favorite hymns, and I'll start. I'll reflect on that, and then I said to the brass, tell me your 5 favorite hymns, and now I'm putting those together, of course, with respect to key signatures and tempos and variation and interest and energy. And then I got a call yesterday, and the call was, are you sure we can't do some Christmas? It's close enough since we're not going to do this in November. And then I started looking around, and I know we have almost 70 degrees right now, but it's going to change soon. And I said, you know what? We can throw in a couple Christmas hymns. Everybody needs to lift their spirits right now, don't they?
Right. We really need that. And I just love the idea of a hymn singing. It's the way I grew up in my church in North Dakota, singing in all the choirs and accompanying some of them and doing the hymn singing. Of course, I was with my father in the senior choir and my sister through high school and part of the senior choir. So anyway, those are some of my greatest memories. I really am excited to hear this. So, and I understand you have to be careful about things, but you've got such great ideas. I just love everything you do.
Thank you.
And I compliment you on it too, because these are things that appeal to people like me. And they really make my season so much nicer.
Well, I firmly believe that that music expresses where the soul and the spirit. And I just believe if we really want to be healthy, everybody's talking about the mental health crises and how difficult things are right now. And my advice to anyone is, number one, remember who's in charge. Remember that you have control of your environment. Please eat well, exercise, get outside in all types of weather, and fill your soul with the expression of music.
That's exactly right. You said it well. Well, you've certainly got a busy schedule there. And yet you're thinking ahead, aren't you? Because you told me that you wanted to talk about future goals for music in the Valley.
Ah, yes, I do.
Can we touch on that subject a little bit?
Sure. There's been kind of such a variety of things that have come and gone. We have a new opera company. I had the honor of conducting that the first year with a number of my people from the St. Croix Valley Symphony Orchestra. Then they went to a string quartet and a professional opera conductor. So, everything morphs, everything changes. And so I have started something, and it's funny that we're talking about this because I was visiting somebody who lost a spouse. So I was doing a little visit with Kanoki's candy and flowers, that's just what you do. And on my way home, I stopped at this company that makes logos and puts them on shirts and this and that. So I actually just ordered a vest about 2 hours ago with St. Croix Sounds and my logo on it. And she said, well, what's St. Croix Sounds? I said, it's my new thing that encompasses anything else that doesn't have a title. And so I explained that St. Croix Sound will have a website, we'll have a Facebook page. It's a brand new endeavor. And it's really kind of just encompassing, at the university this year, they said no adults on campus unless they're registered for class for safety issues. And all of a sudden, all these people that I've been working with for many, many years didn't really have a place or a home or a goal. Now, the Fifth Center has always been very good for vocal music. They have supported the voice in anything choral oriented. But when you look at orchestra and wind band, there is no home. And so I've put that under the umbrella of the university. And that has reached a climax, or shall we say a brick wall during COVID because of safety. So I, this summer, started a group called St. Croix Sounds. And somebody said to me, well, what is it? And I said, it's anything you want it to be that produces music and blesses our valley. That's a good way to describe it. So I went before the Hudson City Council and got permission to present a concert in the park outside, safely, 6 feet apart. And I did that, I believe that was September. And so I brought a group of people together. We practiced 3 times, windows open, safe, instrument coverings, and we played in the park and had a beautiful experience. And so that was a wind band of about 25 people. And there was not a person there without a music degree. So they all had a college music degree somewhere, somehow, and the ages went from right out of college. So what are we, 22 sometimes, 22 to 82. And it was so fun, and the group was good. So St. Croix Sounds now can be whatever needs to be produced, and I will help people with my business mind and my donation prowess, just because there's not funding for these kind of things. But I am a missionary of music.
Yes, you are. And that is just wonderful that you're drawing in people that need a group like this. And that way they can share their music and make their music. And they're so talented the way it sounds. They're people that definitely need to share that music and play and do whatever. But anyway, I bet I know some of those people. But I think that is just a great idea. And I'm so glad the city council approved it. Do we have a date?
It already came and went, but it was
it's already happened.
It was filmed by Nate, so it's probably right here on this channel.
Oh, then it would be, I know where to find it then. It'd be on Western Wisconsin Journal, or at least on his website. So
right.
I'll check that out. No, I did not know about that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Well, Bobbi, that's actually a problem, is getting the word out on all these things. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to keep up a website now called kristjornehoj.com, because the university website is, not always where it should be, even though we're trying. And, the community newspaper doesn't always follow through. There is something else called St. Croix Splash. And if you don't know about St. Croix Splash, that is a website that encompasses everything in the Valley. And it's housed through Outreach. And they also act as my fiscal agent for any of the donations that come in for community type groups and things. So St. Croix Splash really does everything, reading, every part, any kind of artistic expression, and anyone can post on it. So if anybody's looking for something to do, or some good ideas, or some whatever, check out St. Croix Splash, because they're another great space.
Okay, that's a very good suggestion. I had never heard of that. But these are so many wonderful things that you're bringing to this community, and to actually, when it's online, you actually are sharing it with everyone. So I just have to say, this is a wonderful legacy that you're doing. Thank you so much. I just am amazed at what your talents are so vast. I wouldn't know how to begin recording some of these things. And I do sympathize with the educational people that have to do the online teaching, because it's different. But you found a way to really make it come alive. So thank you for that.
I enjoy it.
I thank you for coming in today. I just found out so many neat things, and I'm ready to listen and try some of these things, and I hope the audience will enjoy it as well. So I thank you, Kris.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me, Bobbi, and thank you for being a colleague and an ambassador for the arts and for music in this valley. You do a terrific job, and this is why I love the St. Croix Valley.
Oh, and I do too, as you know, since I came to Hudson many years ago now. It's over 50 for me. So I just love everything you're bringing that's new and innovating, and especially music, because it's so important to me to continue what I love in music. So thanks again for coming on the show today. And I just want to say to our audience, I hope you enjoy the show, and I hope you've learned a lot of things, and that you can go online and you can listen to some of these things, maybe even venture onto YouTube and some of those neat areas. I won't say I'm an expert, but I do go there, and there's lots to be done even when we can't get together. So you really must have music in your lives. So thanks again for listening today, and I will see you in another month or so.